So hello again. I see. Hi, Roderick.
Hello.
So let me just share with you my copy of the book. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So last week we started this item deceptions. It's chapter 27. And I think it's worth because, we're going to carry on the answer to question number 1. So I'll start again with the question and then the answer. So the question was, deceptions are one of the most disagreeable stumbling blocks of practical spiritism. Is there any way to avoid them? And then the answer is, it seems to me that you can find your answer by referring to what you have already learned. Yes, there is, of course, a very simple method, which is not to ask of Spiritism anything more than what it can and must give you. Its goal is the moral perfection of humankind. I had highlighted this part here because it is very important. Moral perfection of humankind. As long as you hold to this, you'll never be deceived, because there are not two different ways of understanding moral truth, but rather only that one which every man and woman of common sense can accept. And then the answer goes on. The spirits have come to teach you and guide you along the path of morality and not the path of fame and fortune, or to attend to your petty passions. Again, very important point here. The communication with the spirits, spiritism as such, and we should take that, to any exchange with the spiritual world. The spirits have come to teach us and guide us along the path of morality. And unfortunately, it's common that we look for fame and fortune and all sorts of things regarding our material life, and we take that and try to sort them out with spirits. And the spirit truth here is very adamant in the answer that it is for our moral progress. If you never made needless requests of them, or those beyond their prerogatives, none of you would open yourselves up to deceptive spirits. Thus, we may conclude that the only one who is deceived is the one who deserves it. So we see that, depending on our attitude towards the spirits and spirit communication, we are prone or put ourselves in a situation where we are prone to be deceived, to deception. Because we expect something from spirit that it can neither give us, nor is the intention, especially of the elevated ones. So if we come with silly questions to someone who is very knowledgeable, that person won't take us seriously. But those who are not serious will come and jump and quickly answer with any rubbish that comes into their mind to our requests. It's the same with spirits. So if we stick to what the spirit truth is saying here, that we should concern or direct our questions to spirits or communication with the spirit world through mediumship, to the moral advancement of humanity, would be in a safer track. The spirits are not charged with teaching you about the things of this world, but with guiding you securely in what will be useful to you in the other. this is another important aspect. If it would be only necessary for us to learn from enlightened spirits about the realities of life and the spirit world, and receive their moral teachings, and full stop, there would be no need to come to physical life. With all the situations that it presents, all the restrictions that it imposes, would not be necessary. We would just attend lectures in the spiritual world, and that would be enough for us to, advance. But that is not the case. And it's part of our development to come to a physical world, to master the physical world, to learn in the physical world, to be exposed to the vicissitudes of the physical world, because it's part of our process, at least at this point in our evolution. The point that we all are, as the spirits who are still at a certain distance from perfection, to be generous, not to say, miles away from it, but we are still in a condition where the physical experiences, they are, the lessons, or the physical experiences they offer us, the lessons that we need at this point. And the spirits say, good spirits are not here to sort out of material problems. This is part of our learning process. They are here to help us live in the physical world, a life guided towards the spirit world, where we will return sooner or later. That is inevitable. We'll be there. But the consequences of what we do here will be felt greatly when we return to the spirit world. So this is almost like a vaccine, preparing us in the right way for the consequences of what we do here. That can be good, but can also be very nasty. And it's just the result of what we do, not punishment imposed by anyone. And I would stop here just to mention the book, for those who haven't read it yet, Heaven and Hell, where we see by what spirits come to tell us all sorts of consequences depending on the life that the person led. So it helps us to, adjust our current life and our behavior and even our thoughts, so that when we return to spirit, we are not faced with consequences that are very, very unhappy for us. And that's what the spirits are saying. We're not here to teach you science and tell you everything about, first, because we are not in condition to understand everything. And secondly, because it's part of our progress, part of our learning process, our incarnation, the effort that we make every day to acquire knowledge, to develop our sciences, be it in the areas like engineering, be it social sciences, all sorts of things, our laws, our justice system. It is our duty, it is part of the effort that we have to make to bring these insights that the spirits give to us in moral terms to our daily life. But they won't spare us the sweat of making the discoveries or making the effort to achieve things. Otherwise, it would be too easy, and there would be no progress on our side, because things would be given to us. We wouldn't even be able to give the right value to what the spirits are bringing to us. And I think it's the same with their teachings. Slowly, we begin to appreciate the greatness of their teachings. Sorry, I lost myself.
If all humans, I think, is it?
Yeah. No, here. When they address the issues of this world, it is because they deem it necessary and not because you request it. If you see spirits as substitutes for fortune tellers and spellcasters, then you will be deceived. If all humans had to do was to address the spirits in order to know everything, they would lose their free will and be outside the designs traced out by God for humankind. mentioned that before. All that we go through in the physical body is part of a learning process. And it's almost like, taking a kid to school and doing all the work, the homework, doing all the exams for the kids. What is this kid learning? So why is he or she going to school if it's not to learn what there is to learn? It's the same thing here. Humans must act on their own. God does not send spirits to make straight the path of their material life, but to prepare them for the path of the future life. I've mentioned that. We are here. The decisions are ours. We get inspiration from the spirits. We learn about the consequences of deciding or choosing A or B as the solution to our problems or the path to follow. But now we gain from the spirits the necessary elements to make better choices. That's all they do. They're not here to say or to arrange marriages or whatever, to tell us if we're going to succeed in our business or not. Some may even talk to us about that in those terms, but they are not evolved spirits. As we are going to see, evolved spirits are concerned with our moral progress. However, there are persons who ask for nothing and are nonetheless terribly duped by spirits who manifest spontaneously without having been evoked. They ask for nothing, but they accept what such spirits say, which amounts to the same thing. If they would distrust anything outside the essential objective of spiritism, frivolous spirits would not deceive them so easily. So why then? In this case, Kardec is saying, is asking these questions because in some cases, people evoke certain spirits to know about material things or ask for advice in this or that matter that is related to material life. But he's talking now about those who, without asking anything, receive communication from spirits and who are not true, and they are, duped by these spirits who manifest themselves spontaneously. And then Kardec says, well, you are not evoking those spirits, you're not asking those questions, but your condition is such that you can easily be fooled by them. It is our responsibility then, in this case, not the questions that we haven't asked, but accepting things that don't make any sense. So that's basically what he's saying. That's why it's so important for us to study, meditate upon the teachings, and never accept any message isolated. What I mean is that if there is a message that brings some new elements that is controversial, let's keep it there. And if it is true, that content will come back in many different ways from many different people. And then after a while, we start to accept that as truth. But to, take one message or, a communication from a spirit saying A or B as the truth, it's a bit dangerous. Why does God allow sincere individuals who trustfully accept spiritism to be deceived? Couldn't this lead to them giving up their belief? If they gave up their belief for that reason, it would be because their faith was not very solid in the first place. Persons who would abandon spiritism because of a simple deception would show that they had not understood it and that they had missed its main points. So we see here that the answer is very clear, saying that it's not, the spiritism that is providing us the deceptions. And it is perhaps the perspective from which we are looking at Spiritism. And also, I would even take that to Spiritists. Some people say that, oh, I was a Spiritist, I'm no longer a Spiritist because I met some Spiritists who did that, or, who are not very nice, and they say one thing, but they do something totally opposite. Well, we are not here to follow people. We are here to follow teachings. And these teachings, Spiritism, is based on the teachings from the Spirit and not from some people. If I'm unhappy in a Spiritist center because I see people doing things that are not in accordance to what Spiritism is saying, find another one. If you can't find another one, study. There are so many books, and nowadays we have so many lectures, and so it's important that we start to have, a bit of autonomy, and start to evaluate things, not by people who follow that, but by what we receive, the teachings that we have. Well, if, I'm a bit disappointed with certain Spiritists, well, I'll carry on studying Spiritism. And, perhaps to stay away from those who I think, are not acting accordingly. But as Kardec says, people with very shallow faith, that by the first deception they give up everything and say, "Oh no," it's because these people are not prepared for it yet. God allows deception in order to test the perseverance of true adherents and to punish those who use Spiritism simply as a means of entertainment, the spirit truth. So we see here in the end of the day that our intentions are very important here. Because when we truly approach Spiritism and start to study it with the intention of learning, gaining some enlightenment, spiritual enlightenment, nothing will take away from this path. It's not people, misunderstandings, or personal views of things. No. We study Spiritism, and we start, the pillars are the books written by Kardec. This is the view of this group of spirits who brought us through this books compiled by Kardec, teachings that are so valuable. And sometimes what we see also is people who they start to study Spiritism, but then they start to study other things as well. And then they don't know Spiritism in depth to be able to compare with other teachings and doctrines, and they don't know those doctrines also in depth. This is also dangerous. It's, those are people who just, jump from one thing to another without going in depth. So if we want to have the real perception of what the teachings of the spirits is through Spiritism, we have to study it in depth. And we see people making comments, all sorts of comments, sometimes positive, but most of the time negative, about certain aspects of Spiritism. And we see that their knowledge is very, very shallow. So they didn't even bother to study to make comments, to just comment on things that, are sometimes even childish perception of the teachings. That's why the spirits say, to, give up on Spiritism because of one deception here or there. It's, it shows just that we are not prepared or we don't know enough about it. And then Kardec's comments. The cunningness of deceptive spirits sometimes surpasses anything we could possibly imagine. The artfulness with which they erect their weaponry and plot ways of being persuasive would deserve attention, even if they were limited to innocent pranks. However, deceptions can lead to unpleasant consequences for those who are not prepared. We are very fortunate for having been able, in time, to open the eyes of many persons who have asked us for advice, saying them saving them from difficult and compromising situations. Among the methods used by these spirits, we should put in first place as being the most frequent those that excite greed, such as the revelation of vast buried treasures, the announcement of inheritances and other sources of wealth. We must also regard as suspect predictions with set dates and all precise indications regarding material interests. We should take all care with arrangements prescribed or advised by spirits when the purpose is not clearly reasonable. We must never allow ourselves to be dazzled by the names assumed by spirits to give validity to their words. We must distrust audacious theories and systems. And finally, we should distrust everything outside the moral objective of manifestations. We could write an entire volume about the most curious stories involving all the deceptions that have come to our attention. Well, this could very well apply to our daily life. People are always trying to deceive us. Nowadays, I receive so many phone calls, and they are just trying to get money or get their hands in our bank accounts, our phone, our WhatsApp account, or whatever, and just to create a similar situation that we see now regarding spirits. And I ask those people who usually make these things here, deceive people in all possible ways, when they go to spirit, what do you people think they will carry on doing? They will start to do good things? I believe very few of them. Those who perhaps repent, they perhaps will start, But I believe some of them, or most of them, will carry on doing the same thing. Not now making phone calls, sending messages, and so on, pretending to be, a bank manager or whatever, but, saying that they are so and so, and they want to teach us things, or asking us to do things that sometimes are even ridiculous, I would say.
I think the word is scammers, and the word scammers, applies to spirits or people. So they can be scammers.
Yeah, the population that is here today will be in the spirit world in 50, 100 years.
Yeah.
You see, can you imagine the situation in 100 years if we don't change, morally speaking? Well, these spirits will be doing things now as the spirits through spirit manifestation, communication. It's the same thing. So we don't take anything for granted from the start. We evaluate, you're my bank manager. Okay, you just end that call your bank manager to check if it's really he or she who's sending that message. So why trust spirits? Just because it's, they are in spirit world and they know everything now, and no. So we should be extra careful. The same way we are extra careful today, we have antivirus in our computer. We have, we take all possible care not to, fall in one of these traps, these scammers, and we should do the same thing regarding the spirit communication. Okay, you people are quiet. So far, I only heard Liz's voice. So we are getting now into chapter 28, charlatanism and trickery. Mediums for hire, fraudulent manifestations. It's a very delicate issue. And very important as well. The first one, it creates a lot of controversy, especially outside Spiritism. Those, I wouldn't say in a larger movement, which is the spiritualist movement, whatever its essence, where mediumship is used, even going back to Moses' time. Mediumship always existed, and the way people dealt with this exchange with the spirit world has always generated controversy. But it's important that we know exactly why within Spiritism, Kardec and the spirits tell us to do things in one way, to see if it makes sense. And I think this is the important chapter dealing with this subject. 304. Since anything can be exploited, it is no wonder that there are persons who want to exploit spirits. It remains to know how spirits would take it if such an attempt were made on them. We may state that from the start, that nothing lends itself better to charlatanism and trickery than such an occupation. Since there are many more fake mediums than somnambulists, this simple fact in itself is a basis for distrust. And what Kardec is trying to say here is the fact that there are mediums who are not really mediums, or there are mediums whose faculty is not as open as they want us to believe. And depending on our intention and their intention, of course, we will get situations that are, basically, charlatanism and trickery. And when we bring the fact that some people charge for that, it creates an even more complicated situation. And then we'll see that. On the other hand, unprofitableness is the best response to those who only see the phenomena as clever tricks. There is no such thing as no profit charlatanism. No one would fake a communication if that person has no interest, financial interests or any other interest in promoting him or herself as a fabulous medium. The person wouldn't, fake a communication if has no interest whatsoever, personal interest in that. On the contrary, sometimes we even see some mediums that, depending on the type of manifestation, it is a kind of a burden to them, a physical, suffering that they have to go through, and yet they are there. Why to distrust these people? If they have no financial interest, if they have no personal interest, if it's not a very pleasant situation, in the sense that they may even be physically affected by that communication, so they are less prone to suspicion than someone who charges for that someone who wants to promote him or herself through the mediumship. Then we are more, sort of careful with those people. So that's what Kardec is saying, if it's non-profit, why suspect charlatanism? What reason would persons have for practicing deceit without profit, especially if their recognized trustworthiness places them above suspicion? Some people, they are well known. Some people have, a wonderful reputation. Why would they be subject to charlatanism or put themselves in that situation if we know them very well, and if they have no interests in terms of profit in that situation? And that's why, Kardec is saying that, they go in opposite directions. When you want to make profit, you are prone to certain situations to create because you aim at the profit. But if you don't aim at the profit, what are you aiming at? If not no personal interest, not think in terms only of financial profit, but profit in any, sense, to gain, a respect from other people as a wonderful medium or whatever. So he's saying that they go in different directions and not charging in this case, or not in wanting to have profit in the communication, will take us, in a safer ground, put us in a safer ground in terms of charlatanism. Hi, Liz.
Morning, everybody. I think it's important to highlight that today, more than ever, it has been very much easy to just go on social media and say things, and people who goes on social media to share all this, their business and everything, are very much interested in that vanity side of thing, or and by consequence getting some financial gain out of it, isn't it? We have like with some cases, especially when there is, for example, crimes involved, a medium certainly appear saying, oh yes, I have this communication from these, and it can be very disturbing for the family, for everybody, and people want to offer console, but in a way that only creates more attention for themselves, and therefore they kind of change the story because of the audience, just to get more and more. So it's such a crazy times within social media in our lives now. You see so many things in there, and especially mediums, and it makes very difficult for any serious institution to do the work as well, because then people just, where do they go more often? Only on these things, and see all this silliness coming through, and then they think everybody is the same. So yeah.
You mentioned something important, Liz, with the internet nowadays. We also have followers, and followers is a way of profit. People do things to increase the number of followers because they, can get money out of that. They become famous or whatever. So this is a way of profiting as well. So when Kardec says profit, let's not just think in direct a monetary gain, but becoming famous, gaining in prestige or whatever that is more personal. Hi, Liz.
Hi, everyone. If a genuine medium works with the police, they would work directly with the police without any publicity, or the police would contact that medium because they know that in general, they've exhausted every other lead that they can to find someone or solve something. That is just a relationship between the medium and the police. There is absolutely no reason, and it's actually detrimental if there is any publicity anyway. So anyone outside of that who, is aiming for publicity is obviously a charlatan, aren't they? And as Liz quite rightly says, it's very destructive and very harmful for those people who have actually lost people, to see or read such things. It causes more harm than good.
Yeah, you see, one thing, Liz, Spiritism does not forbid anything. You see what Kardec is doing. He's not saying, no, you shouldn't do this is forbidden. No, he's just presenting us why to do this or why not to do this, and the consequences that will come. We can't say all mediums should not charge. Mediums are free to choose. Why is that free will? The thing is that what Kardec is doing here is actually showing us the advantages of not making profit out of the phenomena, because
Absolutely.
we have no control. We have no control. Can you imagine if you charge, you have to give something in return? Otherwise, you were charging for nothing. And if you're not charging, and today, for one reason or another, the communication does not happen the way that was expected, well, you are not charging. And that can happen. Mediums don't, they don't own their spirits or the spirits. They are there as the servants or channels, passive channels for spirits. And that's why he's saying, it's very complicated if you charge or if you gain something.
He goes on in the next sentence to say that, it's okay in some cases, they're genuine. And of course, these mediums, the ones that I particularly deal with, they're not in Spiritism. I think, when you're having Spiritist mediumship meetings, all those things apply. But when these people, are in real life, I can tell, apart from, testing them myself, if they're charging more than 30 or 50 pounds, they've got to have a living if they're doing using, what they are gifted with, but in a reasonable way. But if they're charging more than 50 pounds, that's a red flag, because the more you see that people are charging, the less chance you're going to believe what they have to say.
Yeah, you see, Liz, they should have a profession. They should find a living from something else. Kardec is going to mention that, or one answer by the Spirit Truth is that if you have financial problems, sort it out first. Because your mediumship, or in principle, the mediumship, to make good use of mediumship, if you want to make good use of it, you receive communication from more evolved spirits. And to have communication from more evolved spirits, you need to be their instrument for moral teachings. Anything outside that, you are opening your channels to anyone. You see, depending on the kind of business you open on the main streets, you attract similar people. If you open a house for gambling, who are you going to attract to your business? But if you are there and open a charity shop, this is something different. And with mediumship is the same. We are free to choose. We have this faculty, and we can, well, if I make a living from my mediumistic faculty, first, I'm not learning anything in terms of skills and profession. And secondly, I'm opening this channel, this opportunity, giving it to anyone who may be perhaps even more inferior than I am, if you know what I mean. So the way to guarantee... Yeah?
I didn't hear that word. Someone who is more in what?
Inferior than me. I can guarantee that a spirit communicating through my mediumship, depending on the purposes I establish that contact, is not, an evil spirit. Disguised sometimes. So that's why Kardec is saying the safest path is this one. You are free to choose. Of course, you reap the consequences. And, you mentioned, living. We can make a living of something else. And if we have to choose between assisting people with our mediumship, but gaining the minimum, the bare minimum to survive, go work, get the bare minimum first. And then the rest of your time you can dedicate to serving through your mediumship, and not the other way around. That's why people get confused, because when you make your living out of your mediumship, you open yourself to spirits who are not evolved. And this chapter is basically about that. We open ourselves to deception. And when we charge, we want to deliver something, and we have no control of that. You see?
I think few people outside of Spiritism would know about that.
Yes, yeah. Hopefully, yeah. They will get to know this, and that's why we can just condemn people, point our fingers, and I'm a spiritist, I don't charge you go to hell. No. It's the question of just showing them an alternative way and explaining why. That's why I'm saying Kardec explains the do's and don'ts according to the knowledge that the spirits brought. Why, charging puts us in a very complicated situation. And once we don't charge, we don't want any profit whatsoever with our faculty, that then will attract the spirits who want to use that for the most important thing, to bring us moral teachings, moral, how do I say, opportunities of moral advancements.
Yeah. Well, if I was in a position where I could help people with mediumship skills, there's no way that I would charge. Knowing what I know now, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have, I wouldn't, it was just to help someone in their suffering, or, but it wouldn't be for frivolities, whatever,
Yeah.
We've learned in this mediumship study that, you have to have serious questions, as it says, about morality, about anything that would further humanity,
Yeah.
And nothing trivial.
Yeah. Because we are using a faculty that allows us to connect to another dimension to have financial gains or have, material profit. So it doesn't make sense. And someone said, you can take your credit card to the spiritual world. Whatever money you gained here will stay here. So you made a profit that has no value for you in the spiritual world. On the contrary, actually, it will create perhaps embarrassing situations there. But, you're using the spirit world for that. Hi, Denise.
Hi, I think two principles in spiritism that I think is quite important to remember is I think intention. God knows everyone's intention. So and also knowledge. The more you know, the more you are accountable for. So please come back. If you don't know anything and you charge, but you charge just very minimal, there is always that the consequence is going to be based on your intention and your knowledge. It just can. Okay, that's it. Quick one. There's a long queue of hands.
Thanks, Denise.
Okay.
Hi, Ana Paula.
Hi, I want just to help with some information I got this week from a friend, spirit from our spirit center here, our spiritist center here in Denmark, because I'm studying. I study therapies and I am psychotherapist in a lot of different areas, and I could see in some of many of the consultations I have for psychotherapy, traumas and things that I was dealing with people, I had a lot of intuition, and I could see that I was using my mediunity when I was going in some points and following something. And this was disturbing me a lot because I was charging for psychotherapist, psychotherapist, and I had this question talking with the friends in the spirit center, because we have all of this, you cannot charge. And so he came as a friend spirit, but by the name we think it's something we know, have been talking a lot in a higher language here with us. And he told me to be calm about my doubts. And he said that if I study what I am doing, and if I offer my job because I did courses, I am a professional that, and the spirits comes and help using my mediunity and knowing that they can inspire me to do something, this is not a problem because I studied to do that. And they are helping and using me as a canal, like a canal for, how we say, to help something. But if, channel, But if I would come and charge for something that I don't know how to do, that I need a spirit to do that, to know that. I didn't study something, but I am giving recipes or phytotherapeutic things or homeopathic things, anything that I didn't study for it. And I need the spirit's knowledge to do this, I cannot charge. But if I study and I'm doing my job and they know I am in my prayers, I say that I want to help. I want to be a channel to be light for the others, because this is the prayer I do every time before I start attendment. I was attending someone, that I want to be light in their way, and I want to be, of course, doing the best. this is just them using my opening to help the others. And so I should not worry. So I just want to share this.
Wonderful, wonderful, Nepal. Sometimes it's very hard to draw this line, but the thing is, you are acting as a professional. As you mentioned, you've studied for that.
Yeah,
If the spirits do not come,
studies also.
if the spirits do not come to inspire us, you don't rely on them to do your work. So you're doing your work, you're charging for your work. You don't rely on spirits. But of course, if you have your mediumistic channel, and if good spirits come to inspire us, because not so good also may come to inspire you negative things, and you make the final decision. You say, no, I'll stick to what I've learned in the books. So medical doctors, they say that medical doctors are basically all of them always inspired by good spirits, by the type of work they do. But not all of them. They take advantage in the sense of using this faculty to do as much good as they could because they are interested in money. But some of them, they do things you can't believe what some of them they report when you talk to them in a different tone, not openly, of course, not in a medical congress, but when you talk to them and they have experiences that you say, goodness, it's pure mediumship. They are being inspired, but they are there to do their job. They don't rely on the spirits. If the spirits don't come, they will carry on and do their job, beautifully. So to get inspiration in our profession is one thing, right? And we get all the time. Some of us are more sensitive and than others, but we get inspiration. The spirits, they have interest in us. Kardec said you are guided most of the time by them. It's not the other way around, but it's different than offering spiritual services through your mediumship in charging for that. It's just totally different. You rely on spirits to do that. And if the spirits don't come, you will either, return the money and get that, faith. Oh, it failed. Or you will do something, anything, even lie, just to, justify the money you're charging for that. So these are two complete different things. Let's always pray and ask for inspiration for the good spirits in our jobs, because we are working, doing our job, gaining our money, and that, but we are doing something that we can do in a good way, in a bad way, be it teaching, be whatever our profession, we can always do in different ways. And we should always get, the guidance and inspirations, and also to avoid certain situations, that we could prevent if we are well inspired. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is charging for spiritual services.
Many, what you get for free, you give for free.
Yeah. And we can guarantee the assistance of the spirits in matters that are related to, the material world. That is the thing. Ina?
I was wondering regarding the donations, because I observed the situations where people would, so they do not have a price list associated with their spiritual work, and spiritual work, not only mediumship, but I don't know, helping people to reach some sort of enlightenment, or I don't know, to have any work between spirits, let's say. So they do not have a price list per se, but they do accept, for example, donations, or alternatively, they would recommend some charity that they support, and they want people to, well, not want, but they ask people if they want to pay for the service that they received, if they feel that the quality of their service was really good, that they can transfer the money somewhere else. So what do we think about that?
We never
because technically it is a payment. Yeah,
but there are bills to pay, right? To keep the Spiritist Center open, to pay for the light bill, and for electricity, for whatever. But for that, there are ways of people who associate to the group, to the Spiritist Center. I want to become, a member of the group, and I give my contribution. But never charge people, especially those who come in search of assistance. Never. Never. If people want to get together and pay the bills to keep the group open, fine. If someone wants to come and join it, fine. To say that yes, we have people who become members of the group, and then fine. But imagine in a public lecture talk, people come here, most of them in need, and you say, well, if you want to donate some money, it's very good. And no, money, you talk about money in a totally different way, not openly, not charging people. If someone comes with no condition to not even become a paying member, fine, can become a member still, but not paying. I think the two things should be separate. No, but if I don't charge people who come here, we close the center. In my view, I'd rather close it if there's no other way to keep it open, right? Than to start charging people, because then we get into that situation where by charging people you open yourself to situation that those who can pay will get the service. Those who can't pay, well, find somewhere
No,
else.
but the situation with donations normally is different, so they do not ask
Donation
for
is
payment.
different. Someone wants to give a donation
So
to the
if you
group.
want, if you want to donate, if you can donate and donate
Yeah.
as much as you can, someone can donate, I don't know,
Yeah,
5,
you-
someone can donate 500.
More or less, right?
offer, you
Yeah.
offer to everyone free. The
Yes.
service should be free to everyone, right? But if someone wants to support in the same way that we have members who give their contribution, if someone wants to give a donation and one-off contribution, not to the medium, right?
Okay.
Not for
Yes.
that particular situation. I'll give a donation to be attended by them. No. To keep the
Okay.
Spiritist Center, right? And that's all. Because it's a kind of membership, it may become a member and give contribution regularly, fine. But we shouldn't relate the service that is provided with payment, donation, whatever. Sometimes people are like, oh, but the medium is so nice, I want to give him a little gift, Well, the medium shouldn't accept that. Perhaps not to make the person embarrassed for by refusing that. He may take and give that to an institution or give it to something else. But in principle, no relation between material gain or even certain types of gain with the faculty itself. Camille, I think, wants to say something.
Yeah, no, I think you clarify very well as well. I put here in the chat some reference from the gospel, and also it's possible to see in the Genesis other places as well if someone be interested. And this part, as you said, like okay, I want to give money to support the center because I need to pay water, I need to pay rent. For that people be there working to help others have this material structure that is required. I want to help the job continue. That is fine. But I agree with you as well. Everybody's free to do whatever they want, right? Is I will do something, I will have a consequence, and that is up to me, right? Like is, but when I read everything, I think it's very wrong. You charge anything that you do related to spiritism because it's not yours, right? And you can lose indeed the connection. Has I think it has in this spirit of book a passage that speak about if you don't use it well, you lose the because it's not yours.
Suspension of mediumship. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not yours. You are not. You are just. You are doing nothing. You are giving. Is your duty to do that service, but it's not something that you actually do, right? It's the spirit that is giving the fluid. Is the spirit that is giving a order. How you can charge for something that is not yours?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you have the plug, but no electricity. The electricity comes from the spirit
Yeah.
world. Yeah. Hi, Liz.
Hello, just as everybody's been saying a lot about it, I was thinking, as mediumship is just like another sense that for us in our lives, isn't it? As seeing, touch, hearing. So, it's just something else that organically we carry with us. So it's just natural that we are going to be affected by it 24/7 in our lives, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we need to be very careful with these word services as well. Yes, the services as a spirit of serving others, yes, but when we think about mediumistic or any activities that is focused to assist someone from a spiritist center, there is not really a thought of a exchange. It's a given activity. And when you, even if you accept donations for what? For having like some mediums, even if they want to put things in there, a commercial exchange, doesn't matter what it is, it expects that thing back. Even if you say, oh, I don't put a price, but you can give me whatever you want, there is an exchange there. And it is a commercial exchange. And it's only fair to have a commercial exchange if I can control my product. Otherwise, there is no point. But
Yes.
not your product. It's not at all.
In
So
that case, yeah, it is a
just
payment. Yeah.
exactly. So just to give everybody another perspective of reflection is, if I
Yeah.
make a product, I can even say, you know what, I have this product here. But just give me whatever you think this product is worth. There is an exchange. But
Yeah.
it is fair for me to say because I had all the control in that product. It's coming from me, my creativity, my work, my effort. But whenever comes to spiritist activities, whether it is healing, whether it is assistance of any sort, mediumistic assistance, you can't control any of that.
Yeah.
There's no way for you to say, look, you're going to have X amount of benefit when you live here. There is no way you can do that.
Yeah, it's a very, very complex subject. We'll carry on next week, but we don't have time, I'm afraid, Ana Paula. If you want to keep your question for next week, because the very hot topics will carry on next week, because we're running out of time. Rafael is here for the prayer. I'll stop recording.